N7 Radio. Broadcasting now.
Hello, Mass Effect Nation. Welcome to our second episode of the N7 Radio podcast. If you remember, our previous episode was about the trailer. A link will be in the description below. This episode will be about how we get to the Andromeda Galaxy. That's a big question and something many fans have been talking about. I see questions and comments about it all over Mass Effect Nation. I'm Raizer. I've been covering Mass Effect Andromeda news before it was even known as Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm actually one of the first people to create and try to bring together all the fans under the banner of Mass Effect Nation. There's a lot of Mass Effect fans out there, and I want to give us all a voice so that BioWare can know that this franchise is loved and followed.
It's true. Yesterday I was at Whole Foods, and I saw this girl in line with a N7 bag, and I got really excited, but I'm too socially awkward to say hi or anything. But today I was also walking home, and I saw a car parked on the sidewalk. Not on the sidewalk.
That's awfully and breaks all sorts of laws.
What a terrible driver.
No, a good driver parked like a normal human being would.
On the sidewalk.
There was an Alliance sticker on the windshield. So 2 days in a row I saw two different people representing Mass Effect, and I got really excited. So I love
By the way, who are you?
Other fans out there. And by the way, I'm gIrltriesgames. I'm a YouTuber, and you can find me on YouTube at the name gIrltriesgames, also on Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, and yeah.
I'm BioFan. I'm a YouTuber that focuses on BioWare games like Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age Inquisition and stuff like that. You can also find me on YouTube and Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, like pretty much everywhere that I can be. I'm there.
And hey everyone, I am Chachi Bobinks, podcast producer, part of the Dialogue Wheel, and the originator of #IPlayBioWare, which will turn 1 year old 2 days after this podcast is released. So, I know, right? I'm so excited. So if you're listening to this podcast, do me a big favor and please hashtag on there why you play BioWare and what you're looking forward to with Andromeda, and feel free to use content learned in this here podcast. Boom. Thank you.
Alright guys, so like Raizer said earlier, I think what the biggest question is that I've seen at least everywhere is how do you guys think we get to Andromeda? How do you think this ties into the previous trilogy?
Uber X.
Ooh, pick me!
BioFan, go!
Okay, so prior to this podcast, I did a bunch of research, and I found out a lot of wonderful scientifical information that has some things that will make you think about a lot of things.
Science!
Anyway, I'll get
Science!
Science! Science! So much science! So from our little Milky Way well, not little, it's big, but from Milky Way to Andromeda is 2.537 million light years away.
Woo.
So that's pretty far.
Yeah, it's more than a day's drive.
So that's a little more than a day's drive.
Just a little.
Yeah. Just a tiny bit. So it would so our technology to get there would have to be ridiculous. Like ridiculous. And just to give you some fun little facts. The Andromeda Galaxy is 9.006 billion years old, versus our good old Milky Way is 13.21 billion years old. So we're kind of like the older sibling of the group.
Oh.
But while we may be older, we're definitely not nearly as big. So it's like that little brother that you have that grew like 5 billion feet taller than you by the time you were 10. So Andromeda has about 1 trillion stars, which I'll get more on that later, versus the Milky Way only has 100 billion. So that's 10 times as many stars. So it's ridiculously larger.
That's a lot more ground to cover and a lot more random places to search.
Wow. Like what I'm thinking is, depending on if they have mass relays or not, which is depending on if they have Reapers or not, but that's a whole, let's get back to what I was talking about with, so if we're going to Andromeda and they don't have mass relays, but they have a 10 times higher concentration of stars and let's just pretend everything would be proportionate. Stars and planets and races and aliens. So just a small chunk, so like a tenth of Andromeda, would have as much races and resources and everything as maybe the Milky Way. So you could stay in a relatively small chunk and not feel limited.
You know, that's interesting, because BioWare has said that they wanted Mass Effect Andromeda to not be about exploring a vast portion of the galaxy, but being more intimate with a smaller area of the galaxy, like maybe a few star clusters.
And a few star clusters could mean, like, pretty much the same size as the Milky Way.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few star clusters could be over 1,000 planets, you know, it's...
So, and Andromeda has 1 trillion stars. So just to kind of put that in perspective, humans, even by Mass Effect time frame standards, have not existed for 1 trillion seconds. So think about how many stars that is. 1 trillion.
That is a few stars.
Yep, definitely a few.
Wow. That is
Wow.
some science.
That's
That
pretty
is some
massive.
science, yeah. I have to tell you, BioFan, that all that information dropped on me blinded me with science.
Oh, I still have more.
Too much science.
I still have more. I still have
Oh
more.
my gosh,
Chachi.
even more
Oh,
science?
no.
You're gonna lose all your senses by the end of this.
Don't forget about the galaxy merger, if you've heard of that. Our big brother is going to come back and kick us in the teeth.
Oh, man.
It's in like 7 billion years-ish, I think.
Yeah, it's around there. 7 to 10 they estimate that the Andromeda Galaxy
Yeah.
is actually going to eventually come and
Merge.
punch Milky
but-
Way right in the face. And what I mean by that
Well,
is
and,
when-
like, they punch, and then the Milky Way is like, hey, dude, why'd you do that? And comes back and punches Andromeda,
then-
and then, like,
It's
they
like
get
a
into a
street
fist fight, and then they're, like, on the floor hugging each other, and then, the other galaxy,
the bigger galaxy absorbs the smaller one.
the triangular galaxy, the tiny little peewees over there just kind of watching, eating popcorn, and then it's like, fun pile of fun at the end. So, more stuff about Andromeda is, so, in science we call it the local group, is kind of the galaxies that are kind of, well, near is a very relative term.
Right.
But, the galaxies near us, so the 3 spiral galaxies are Milky Way, Andromeda, and Triangulum. The rest are called dwarf galaxies because they're small and little and don't have the same shapes and everything and whatnot. But the largest is definitely Andromeda. And then the Milky Way is second, and Triangulum is third. I think... So... I kind of give BioWare a little too much credit sometimes on science and science fiction being right according to science. So, one kind of thought I had is, if we're over here, and then Andromeda's like, way over there, why are we going to Andromeda? There's all these little dwarf galaxies that are really, really close to us. So Andromeda is 2.537 million light years away from us, versus the closest dwarf galaxy, the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy, is at 69,000 light years away, and it's relatively so close that the gravitational pull of the Milky Way is actually slowly tearing it apart. So why aren't we going somewhere that's kind of close versus somewhere that's like way far over there?
You know, that's pretty interesting. It would almost have to be if maybe we don't know it's the Andromeda Galaxy. Maybe some way is presented for us to go somewhere away from the Milky Way, maybe just to gather resources or to build a new home, and we just go. And that might be why it's the Andromeda Galaxy, because it just so happened to go there. Maybe we weren't planning, hey, let's go to Andromeda because looks neat, like, you know, especially if all these places are closer.
Or maybe
Yeah.
the fact that it is so huge just offers so much more diversity of different planets we can visit, different maybe civilizations we can find, different resources for humanity. I think if it's way bigger, it offers so many more options.
We'd have to have the assets to get there too. Post-Reaper War, we might all still...
Well, that depends on if it is post-Reaper War. We don't know that yet.
Well, we do know it's long after the events of Mass Effect 3.
But then when did we leave to go?
Exactly, we don't know. It could be 5 years or
It's
100 years.
bazillion light years away. When did we leave to get there?
Maybe they showed us the old tech in a trailer to let us know it's not too far ahead.
Maybe. I have two kind of probable theories for why it's Andromeda.
Okay.
The first, probably most likely, is it's marketable, chemicable. People know about Andromeda. It's not too out there science-wise. Versus if you go to Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy, people are like, what? Versus if you go to Andromeda, people are like, oh, cool!
I know that name! It's in the books!
I know that one! And then my other one is that maybe there's some... So, you know how Reapers have been coming in every, 50,000 years and messing shit up and killing everybody and all that not?
Those darn Reapers.
What if before that 50,000 year cycle thing, or at some point during long time ago, there was some sort of ancient way that was built to get from the Milky Way to Andromeda, and we just happened to discover it. Maybe that's why we go to Andromeda, is because we're already given the means. We don't have to go, well, where do we want to go? It's given to us.
Interesting. Maybe it was a way to try to escape from the Reaper War.
Maybe, yeah.
From a previous cycle.
Since we're still on the topic of science, I wanted to throw in some more kind of tinfoil-y stuff that I'm sure Kay's like, oh yay!
Tinfoil theories.
So, I know this very well. Anyone that checks out Kay's YouTube channel, she has tons of awesome theories. You should totally do that. So I'm just gonna call it right now. I've predicted the plot of the game that comes after Mass Effect Andromeda. Just gonna say that right here, right now. So, laying down the serious, yeah. So, Triangulum is actually kind of super duper close to Andromeda.
Okay.
I couldn't find a distance from each other because science does, Google and scientific answers, you can only get so much. But
We need to get
so
an astronomer
Triangulum.
in here.
I know, that's
have
what
to
I
get
was
an
just
astronomer
thinking.
on here, or my high school physics teacher, someone. So Triangulum is only 200,000 light years further away than Andromeda. So, and they're both kind of really close to each other in the local cluster. And so the Milky Way, to give you kind of the distance ratio of if Andromeda is only 200,000 light years further away, and they're both in pretty much the same direction, by the way, just a slight angle difference. And so the Milky Way is 100,000 light years in diameter. So imagine that Mass Effect 3 map, double that, and that's how much further you would have to go to get to Triangulum. So I'm thinking if Andromeda's right here, Triangulum's kind of next to it, and they have billions and years of not being killed by Reapers, then maybe they've been to each other.
That's
That would
interesting.
be really cool, because imagine what that means for the development of all those civilizations that could possibly be there.
And the numbers and numbers and numbers of future Mass Effect games we could have to play.
Yeah, so many possibilities.
You know, I almost wonder if maybe in a Mass Effect game or two, instead of the galaxy map, it will be the maps of different galaxies, with the Milky Way being the home galaxy, and you go and explore different ones.
Ooh.
I like that.
That would be
Ooh.
awesome.
Yeah.
That would be fun. But so if they had again, they're billions of years old. If they didn't have Reapers, maybe they came up with their own kind of Mass Effect relay technology kind of stuff. I don't know. But let's say if they did, then it would just be a short little pop over to Triangulum from Andromeda. It wouldn't be that big of a... They wouldn't be too separate. There'd just be this kind of little empty space in between. It'd be kind of just going across the river over there.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be... They're so close that they probably have some sort of relationship or something. I would hope that the writers at BioWare would know that. I don't know. I give them too much credit sometimes, so I may just be totally off my rocker over here.
The only thing I could see preventing those races from getting that technology would be something that is kind of mentioned in the lore of previous Mass Effect games about the Reapers. Yes, they're sent to destroy everybody, essentially, but their technology and the way they built their trap brought the species together to coexist peacefully. Because the Citadel,
and to advance further,
yes, maybe in Andromeda, because this this stuff wasn't there, the species just aren't able to find enough peace or enough reasons for peace. Maybe they always, there's always war going on here on Earth. Like, even though everyone wants peace, people always find reasons to kill each other. Maybe there just can't be enough peace in those galaxies for technology to advance to that level because there's just regular wars amongst those races.
And I think we kind of talked about that in the previous podcast, by the way, too, of how we think the plot would be. Like, we go in and we're kind of like the person that restores peace. We're the third party. We're not as invested in this as everyone else because we're not from Andromeda. So we come in and we get all these races together and we solve all this peace or something, and there's probably a big bad in there, just, I don't know, like pooping on our Cheerios or something.
That's the typical BioWare formula.
And but another thing I wanted to say about Triangulum's possible relationship with Andromeda is Andromeda is this really big thing, and Triangulum only has 40 billion stars versus Andromeda has 1 trillion, which is a bazillion times more. So it's probable that Andromeda just basically like owns Triangulum since it's so much smaller. I don't know.
That's true.
So that is the end of BioWare's fun science.
Science! Yay.
Science!
I love it. I love it.
So it almost seems like the way we get to Andromeda would have to be it's already provided or already exists. So far, it seems the most legitimate and noteworthy way would be that it's previous technology built by a race who wanted to escape the Reaper extinction event from their cycle, or something similar to that.
Or maybe Andromeda invites us. Like, they send the technology.
As, like, refugees or something?
That would be
Or they're like, hey, come over here. But it's like, they're luring us, and it's a trap.
Yeah.
It's a trap!
It's a trap!
Yeah.
It's a science trap!
That would be really
But
cool.
then again, let's not give BioWare too much science credit at the moment.
You know what, though? I think every time that we say don't give them too much credit, there's some BioWare employee, like, with their fingers equal going, good. They have not yet caught on to how much you know. I think they want you to think that you're giving them too much credit because you're...
That, or there is someone at BioWare listening to this, and they're writing it all down and presenting it to the team, and we are the awesomest people ever for providing this. You can thank us.
And they're all gonna invite
There
us
you
up
go.
to Montreal. Whoop!
Yeah!
What if
Hey! Let's do that. If anyone from BioWare is listening, we are totally okay with you using our ideas.
You have full express written and spoken consent.
Good. Yeah.
Total consent. Go right on ahead.
I don't know, I'd rather give them too much credit than... I mean...
Not enough, yeah.
I mean, they deserve it.
Yeah.
They're a very
Absolutely.
talented team, so I think they definitely have limitless potential.
I mean, look at all the stuff there is just to talk about. I mean, about their games and the stories alone.
Yeah, already, and we only have like 1.5 trailers.
Yeah. Now, as I said before, when I mentioned that this technology would have to be provided for us, there's maybe some evidence to that. If you remember, the Pathfinder Initiative image that was shown up in a tweet a long time ago, this image right here, kind of shows something that might have some support to this theory. It almost looks like there is a portal with an arrow pointing towards the portal in the middle of this logo. I mean,
And it says like Archon at the top, right?
Archon on the top.
it says Archon on the bottom.
On the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the Ark alone almost, I mean, I need to think of a way of saying this without mentioning the Bible.
You can mention the Bible.
Yeah, go for it. I
Yeah,
think
you
it's
can
perfectly
mention
fine.
the Bible.
Or I just...
As long as you don't say that it's necessarily true,
Yeah.
you can mention the Bible. You can mention any religion as long as you don't say, this is the truth.
And you all worship it now.
This is a science podcast. Raizer. You need to keep it very scientific.
I love you.
Alright. The logo itself even mentions Archon, and the specific letter is Ark. If you remember the biblical story, Ark was built so that the world could survive pretty much an apocalyptic event. Let's take the world and upgrade it to the whole Milky Way galaxy. maybe the Ark was... Yeah, that's a big upgrade. That's like level 1 to level 63 or something. That's a lot of experience points. I think someone was using a bot to grind experience.
Well, actually, according to science, that's like...
Hacks.
That's like 100,000 times. That's like a level 100,000. But anyway, I'm too scientific.
But maybe there's a huge ship or something built so that the races of the Milky Way galaxy, or at least the surviving ones, could go either recover resources. Okay, so that they could go recover resources, or maybe just set up a base away from home, just in case something like this happened again. Maybe people were scared of new technology other than the Reapers showing up to wipe them all out again. I mean, most people after a traumatic event do have some form of PTSD or something similar.
Your Honor, I must bring one file of evidence up for your inspection, and that would be the N7-day gifties that we got from BioWare. If you'll remember.
I received no such gifts, so I will not acknowledge them, BioWare.
They were slipped under your chamber door, sir.
I eat anything that slides under my chamber door. I assume it's food.
Dirty!
That sounds like a great idea.
Don't question anything, just consume it, right?
You're not even open your
eyes. Is it the front door or the back door?
Alright, but if you'll think back to N7-Day, of all the little gifties that we got, one of them was a picture of, like, galaxy-type stuff, and this huge, blocky-type thing with a glowing bottom, and you can see, like, a ship racing towards it, right? What I propose is that if you look at that... Do you all want me to send you the link? Because I've got it pulled up right now. Totally send it to you. Okay,
Link.
I'll edit this part out. But you want to see this, and you'll go, oh, I get it. Okay, here you
I
go.
love that picture.
Here it is, right? If you look at this, in your head, turn it about 10 degrees or so, and it looks eerily similar to the logo in the middle of that patch.
Huh.
Dun dun dun!
See?
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe Archon is this big thing right here.
You know, I kind of thought that too.
Because Archon kind of sounds like a company or an organization to me, so maybe it's the company that built this thing?
Exactly.
Oh, don't mention
But
a
as I
company,
said-
then you're gonna give the Cerberus people some more to go. It's the same colors as
Yeah,
Cerberus.
Cerberus fans.
Anyway, but as I was saying earlier on how, like, you know, maybe we had some sort of ancient technological way to get there.
Science!
If you look... Science! If you look at it, it kind of looks old. It doesn't look, like, brand shiny
It
new.
looks
Like,
old.
you can kind of see it looks, like, towards the entrance to the light thing there, it looks kind of worn, you know?
Yeah.
That's true.
And there's some floaty bits around it and stuff, so maybe... So maybe it's an ancient sort of way to get to Andromeda.
Yeah.
Because that light, I mean, let's be honest, it looks like a portally wormhole.
It does.
Thing. I mean, what else?
And it
is
kind of
there?
makes
Come
you think of Element Zero. My theory is that this right here is like some sort of major mass relay. Because we know the mass relays can go thousands of light years. So maybe there are huge, gigantic, massive relays that are in
That can go millions.
Yeah, that can go millions of light years. And this could be one of them. And maybe this, because when I think of Pathfinder, I think of, and mind you, I come from a tabletop background. I played tabletop for years before I ever touched video. But when I think of Pathfinders, I'm thinking of, like, your colonists and people who are going out there and, like, investigating and finding new lands and all this stuff. So, and then I think, well, maybe this is a major mass relay thing. Maybe Pathfinders are people who go from major, huge mass relays to other major, huge mass relays. And that's what the Pathfinder Initiative is.
You know, that's interesting.
Awesome.
It's like we're the first people to go through a new relay similar to the Omega-4 relay. And now that they bring up the Omega-4 relay, this is something I thought about before. During Mass Effect 2, I thought it was weird that the Reapers would build a special, different color relay just for the collectors to use.
Don't go here, guys.
This is our own one.
This is
ours.
red! Red's bad!
Stay
Stop.
away.
Red Star.
Don't do it!
No boys
I
Don't
allowed.
say Buff was wrong. Don't do it.
I always just thought it was weird that the collectors got their own special relay, and not only that, but the collectors are built from the Protheans, which obviously didn't exist for the entire duration of the Milky Way. So what was this relay for? In this image that we talked about before, the orange background looks almost similar to the center of the Milky Way galaxy, where the collectors were. Maybe this portal or relay is near the center of the Milky Way galaxy, because these major Mass Effect relays are meant to go between each galaxy, where they in turn have a similar portal near the center. Maybe that's what the Omega-4 relay was meant to go to all along, and the collectors just happened to be hidden there because it was convenient.
Yeah.
Well,
I like this. I like where this is.
Yes.
well,
Me too.
two things.
Okay.
Logically thinking, you would save yourself like 50,000 light years and put it at the edge of a galaxy, logically speaking.
But it would be
Then again,
found
this is-
there. No one wants to go towards the center of the Milky
That's
Way.
true. If you go to the spot where you're not supposed to go, red means don't go there. But also, another thing
And
that
giant.
maybe kind of adds to this is we didn't totally explore the center of the galaxy. We just went to like a little tiny bit of it. And also, that relay has been there since the beginning of the relays.
Exactly.
The collectors have only been there since the last cycle.
Right.
And if you
no
look in that
one's
image,
found
there's
it.
wreckage. Yeah, no one's found it yet.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
If the Normandy at that time in time was able to kind of sort of navigate a little bit in the center, maybe if this is in the future, so maybe if it's far enough in the future, maybe we've developed the technology where we can totally go around the center of the galaxy, or maybe we cleaned it up or something. I don't know.
SR4 Normandy. New ship. Called it. No.
Well, as we said in the previous podcast, the ship in the first sort of like teasery, trailery thing that they did at like E3 ages ago, the ship that's crashed on a planet is SRX. So maybe.
Maybe the technology
Maybe
is
that.
advanced enough.
Yeah.
Maybe it's advanced far enough that we can go through the Omega-4 relay, and we can find this magical rainbow portal to Andromeda.
It is very rainbowish. It reminds me of Rainbow Road.
Same. Calling it now, guys.
Yep.
That's totally
You got
what's
it.
gonna happen.
I
That's-
support you.
We are predicting everything on this podcast.
Everything we
You
say
should
is
keep
correct, too.
listening to us. Everything. Even Chachi's far-fetched Joker thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, my new goal as part of N7 Radio is to plug my Joker theory every place I can. I don't care how outlandish this gets. You can
Even if everyone else on the podcast disagrees with her.
even, you know what? It's because you haven't yet been indoctrinated.
You know, I might ha-
Stick that in the box. Just put it in the box.
I just thought of something
Put
that
it
might support your theory,
in-
actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
We don't have
That
to mention
can
this in the
that
podcast.
can stay out
if
of the
you don't
box.
want.
Go
Oh,
on.
I'm sorry, BioFan.
We will get there. Yeah, we're gonna hear your theory in 2.5 seconds because I gotta talk about Joker again, guys. Alright, so, I know. And y'all thought I was famous for my love for Caden Lincoln, Joker. But in the last podcast, I talked about the landing of the Normandy in what I claim to be the Dales, alright? But
The Dales.
The Dales.
Hail, Inquisitor! I am Joker.
I will buy anything.
yes! Right, perfectly.
I'll raise my hand to that too.
But I talked about how the Normandy crashed and everything dealing with that, but I didn't really talk about the scene beforehand or what all we witnessed in the crashing. And I know that the second you start to bring up the end of Mass Effect 3, that's when the theories start going wild. They're just flying left and right because there's so much that we can interpret so many different ways. But I kind of want
Speculation for everyone.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, I sure will. Excuse me. But yeah, whenever we discuss this, just theories start flying left and right. There's so many different theories out there as to how the ending of Mass Effect 3 will fit into the entirety of Mass Effect Andromeda. So let's talk about that here for a second. And by the way, listeners, if there are any theories that you're just like a huge fan of, especially if you've got some way that you've now linked this theory you've been carrying into Andromeda, please comment down here and let us know about it. We're going to read them. We're going to talk about them. You may even see some of your comments being discussed in future shows. So share that with us because we'd love to really just get into this elbows deep. But let's talk right now about that entire scene leading up to the crash. Raizer, I know you have some feelings about what we see behind the ship as Joker's navigating, right?
Yeah, that's right. It shows Joker and everyone in a hurry, obviously. They're trying to not only get away from the red, green, or blue explosion of your choice, but it doesn't show an explosion chasing them, strangely enough. It shows what looks like a portal or almost a wormhole chasing the Normandy specifically. Maybe they're just caught up in it, or maybe it's an anomaly of this new type of explosion, I guess. New type of explosion, whatever. This is a new type of explosion.
It's not like the old ones. The explosion's pure. Yes.
It's purple. It's not any of the other colors.
What am I seeing? But maybe,
as you were saying,
the Normandy can't escape this, obviously, because if you notice, it's catching up to the Normandy rather quickly. It has no chance of escaping, and the screen goes to black almost right before it's enveloped in this
like
color.
That scene in every single Jaws movie. You know?
Yeah, or any other dramatic movie. And then immediately after, it shows the dream sequence scene, where they're waking up on that planet or in the Dales. Maybe they're waking up in the Andromeda Galaxy. Maybe having the Normandy there is like an Easter egg or side quest or actually something important to the main story. But
or Chachi is totally right, because that's how Joker got to Andromeda, and we're all just kind of totally like, just eat our words.
I'm telling
you. To support her Joker theory, there is something that I thought of. If you remember at the end of Mass Effect 3, if you read the codex entries and the news stories, like I did, it mentions a race of aliens that moved their consciousness pretty much into an AI state and transferred it into a ship, and they're living in hard drives. But they lived...
Oh yeah, I remember those.
But nothing happened with this. It was just something you read about. I always expected, hey, maybe this is going to be a side mission. Maybe I'll go to
Yeah, they never showed up.
They never showed up, but there had to have been a reason they kept it in the game. Maybe they're letting you know that, hey, this is possible for your brain to be moved into a hard drive or another world. Maybe Joker's mind merges with Edie, or is put in a storage space within her mind, and she survives until the time of the game, and Joker's there.
Oh my god.
She can die in the Destroy ending, though.
She can.
Yeah, and so can Liliana.
And so and Shepard dies and comes back, so I mean,
yes,
death is not a final destination anymore.
No. No, Cerberus can bring anyone back to life, even Liliana and Shepard.
Yeah.
Cerberus and Inquisition.
Andraste is really involved with Cerberus.
Andraste is, yeah.
Andraste is the elusive man's wife.
Oh, no.
Don't even go there.
Oh, man.
Yes.
So are you proposing that there's like a Matrix-y kind of thing going on? Where their like mind is in Andromeda, but their bodies are not? Is that what...
I don't even know anymore.
I mean, BioWare did it with Justice and Justice and I can't remember his name. No, well, Anders.
Justice
Justice and
what?
Anders.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean that's
original Justice.
Yeah.
A body.
So I mean, it wouldn't be too far fetched for them to do something similar to Mass Effect.
Yeah, I like it.
It's just a way for Joker to survive.
That would open up a whole new can of worms with a whole bunch of like completely different possibilities than what I've been thinking at all.
So many worms, so many cans, not enough can openers.
Not enough can.
Not enough can opener.
Well, let me introduce you to another crack theory then. I love it.
I love them. Bring it on.
All right, let's take a step back to what Raizer was addressing earlier with the wormhole or whatever it is that appeared behind him after the explosion. I think it may be actually like an energy wave from the explosion of the Citadel or what have you. right? That's been my theory this whole entire time. So I was just...
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, so I was just kind of thinking
Probably
about this,
just, like-
right? There are theories out there about if the Citadel was a massive holder tank thing with a gigantic deposit of element 0 inside of it, right? Right? Because everything that they made ran off of Ezo, right? Everything did. Like, they couldn't make a pair of shoes without element 0 in it. Like, that was just like their thing. So why would they make this huge, gigantic, Citadel? Why would they make that and not also have a huge core of element 0 inside of it? And we know that there's a lot of places in the Citadel that we didn't have access to and only the Keepers could get to them, right? So it'd be relatively easy to hide. Be relatively easy to hide Ezo.
Easy.
All up in there. So, if you've got this gigantic core of element 0 and it explodes, we don't really know what that would do we?
Well, the Citadel was right next to Earth at the end of Mass Effect 3, so hopefully it doesn't destroy everything.
If so,
Otherwise-
nice
you
knowing
see
y'all.
that energy wave. You see that energy wave hit Earth, and depending on the color and everything, depending on the color, it does different things.
Right?
So like the red one kills everything, the blue one takes control of everything, and the green one makes everybody happy.
Exactly. So if this is an energy wave, it would be like an energy wave of element 0, and Lord knows what could happen to it, but maybe it could shoot you hundreds of thousands of light years away. I don't know. Like, maybe it's like when you drop a glass of marbles. I don't know why a glass of marbles is the first thing it came up with.
How often do you drop?
Because I do that so
marbles?
much.
Chachi,
Everyone can relate to that. It's really late right now. Everyone can relate to what it's like when you drop a glass of marbles.
I've done that many times in
Chachi-
my day.
Chachi has officially lost her mind.
Do people
I don't
keep glasses of marbles around?
Just for dropping.
You don't?
Who doesn't?
Don't? God, Kate, you're weird.
So.
Everyone, come on.
But if you drop
It's
something...
like breathing. You have to have a cup full of marbles.
I like the dropping marbles thing, so we're gonna go with this. Okay, this
I love it.
is my hyperbole.
Okay.
Oh
Please
god.
go on.
So if you
Go
drop
back to
a
your dropping
Okay.
marks.
Amaze us with your science.
So if you dropped a container of marbles, right, it's not going to just crash land right there on the spot. It's going to crash and then everything's going to scatter. So maybe...
'Cause science!
Maybe...
Physics!
Physics! Everything's scattered. And I kind of think anytime that they say it's years and years and years in the future, I like to kind of tongue-in-cheek think, yeah, they're talking light years, not physical years, right? So maybe, just saying, that's one of my crack theories, is that Element 0 in the Citadel, explodey, fuck knows what all's happened here, but it shot us like millions of years from Andromeda. And if so, then Caden could be there. Just saying.
Ezo time.
BioFan officially approves this
It would just be interesting
But-
because you'd think that some stuff would be destroyed. If this energy is so strong it could shoot something to another galaxy, how does
knows?
the structure integrity of the object survive?
Science!
And then science, physics, magic. But then also you have to think, okay, then who's that Krogan? Who are we? Why are all these returning characters here when they said there weren't going to be a lot of returning characters?
Yeah!
So
BioWare contradicts themselves though, because during the San Diego Comic-Con panel 2014, they allowed fans to line up and ask questions. I think I mentioned this in the last podcast.
You did.
And one of the
yeah, I
fans
think we
asked,
talked about this a little bit.
yeah, BioWare says that there's a good possibility that we will see a few returning characters.
Well, they say that there's a possibility that you'll see return, but they also say that according to Chris Wynn, that the story makes it in a certain way that returning characters wouldn't be very plausible, I guess. So I'm thinking that it's only like a few. It's not gonna be like everybody you ever knew, every squad mate's there. How do you
Miss
raw?
them so much.
Yeah.
Where's the doctor from the Citadel?
I mean, yeah, I think it will be like non-main characters. I think it'll be like, oh, I remember that guy. He wasn't in Mass Effect 3. Oh, this makes sense.
Oh, that's very right.
Conrad
Again.
Werner.
Oh, please, God, no.
Oh god, no.
That's
Hey,
from
Commander
a child.
Shepard. I'm trying to save the galaxy, Shepard. I don't have time for training.
So, do you think, I mean, like we mentioned earlier, there's going to be a whole slew of new possibilities of different civilizations, but do you think we'll...
With a trillion stars.
Yes, with a trillion stars.
Science!
So much science. Do you think that we'll see any alien civilizations returning? Do you think they'll be completely new? What do you guys think about that? The culture?
So I noticed... okay, me or Chachi, who goes first? I vote Chachi, because I have something that... mine relates to races returning. Chachi, what is
Mine relates to races developing. For this, I have to bring up science, right? Okay, so...
Science!
I love that BioWare's company is generally pretty good at making races kind of applicable to the area that they come from, right? It's kind of like if you look back at the development of humankind on planet Earth, different people were formed in different areas based on what that environment needed, right? Different heights because of different environments, different skin colors because of different environments, things along those lines. I love studying that kind of stuff because I think it's so cool how necessity kind of affects evolution, right? So I want to grab that theory and apply it to the larger scale of all the planets in the world, and therefore all the planets in the world. It is
all the planets in the world.
I want to grab that theory
Chachi,
and apply it to all the...
You need to grab a hold of your marbles and just hold them close to your heart. Just take them and keep them with you.
We're gonna have the best
never
real
let them
ever.
go.
Don't drop them.
Don't drop them, because that's chaos. Right.
Don't drop them or lose them. Especially don't lose them. You can drop them, but just don't lose them.
I see what you did there.
Science! Not really!
Right. So I want to grab that theory and apply it to all the planets and all the stars and all the everything in the entire universe. It would only make sense for us to have a cajillion different alien races if we have a cajillion different stars. Because the environments on each of these stars or planets or whatnot are going to be different. There's going to be different atmospheres, different elements, different types of matter in there. Everything's going to be so different that it wouldn't make sense for us not to see things that we have not seen before. I don't know how I feel about returning races so much, because it wouldn't make sense for, maybe at least, it might not make sense for the Andromeda galaxy to have something that looks exactly like a Krogan, but something similar, yeah. But what?
So the other day, I was tooting around in Inquisition, getting some footage for some video stuff, trying to get some pretty Ferelden shots. And I went on Cassandra's personal quest, where you go to that one noble's place. The noble isn't there, but then the evil seeker people are there, and you kill them and stuff. And then I was walking around, and I noticed something there on the wall. And you know what it was?
What?
A Krogan head.
There's also one in the Early
In the Winter...
map.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also one in the Winter Palace. So you know what this tells us? The Krogans are already in Frostbite.
Oh!
They've been in Frostbite this whole time.
Oh my gosh!
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Mind blown!
Codex entry unlocked.
Oh my god!
You're welcome. Mm-hmm.
That's a really
I want to
good
say
point.
science, but it's not really
That's
science.
a really good... We're gonna say
Facts.
science anyway.
Technology!
Turn on the wall.
There's at least one Krogan model-ish. At least
Yeah, because
one.
they wouldn't have paid all that staff time to create something just to be a cutesy little added. That makes sense.
Yeah, they would have to. They would have to have already made it and then be like, "Hey, Inquisition team, let's do something funny."
Here's the thing that we have. Yeah, exactly. I could not see BioWare spending that much money to pay somebody to create something with Frostbite Engine just for laughs.
Just to hang it on a wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
even Cheese Wills came out of necessity.
Yeah.
True. They're very necessary.
There's gonna be a lot of
But
cheese
that's
in Mass
very-
Effect, by the way.
But that
Science!
that just solidifies to me, I think, that Krogan looking thing in the trailer was a Krogan.
Yeah.
So that tells us that there's probably, unless somehow Krogan exist in Andromeda on their own, which would be highly
Which I doubt.
unlikely.
Yeah,
When you think
would
about
make
the like
sense.
millions of permutations of different ways, like you said, aliens could develop. I think it's highly unlikely that there would be the same exact race in another galaxy. So that would mean that the Krogans would be traveling with the humans. So it sounds like it's not necessarily just a strictly human mission or whatever that we're doing over there. It sounds like there's
That would kind of
other
go with the whole
races
arc
involved.
theory. That would kind of go with the whole arc theory where you have all the aliens getting on
Major
a, let's just call it a vessel, and then going away to Andromeda for safety or exploration or further advancement or whatnot.
Yeah.
So we can at least confirm that there's definitely one Krogan.
Exactly.
Probably more. Where there's one Krogan, there's usually more
That's
than
right.
one.
They're like Sith. Where there's a Sith, there's a master. But you know, BioWare has been pretty generous in letting us know that even though it's improbable for characters to show up from the other Mass Effect games, that the decisions made will affect us. Well, that's one way for the decisions made to affect us. If people from the Milky Way are there. So I'm totally
And
bought in.
depending what you did with the genophage, and if you were a decent human being, you cured
There's
it.
one answer to that. You know that, right? There's one answer
There's only one.
to how that goes down. And that's
I
you
still
cure
haven't
Only
been able to
one.
do it another way, but I
How dare
no,
you?
I haven't been able to not cure the general.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
fine,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Crisis averted over here. Crisis averted.
You're about to get fired again for the second podcast.
You're so about to get fired. Don't you want to see Morden the baby Krogan?
Yes.
Come on. We're still shipping it. We're gonna
Still
ship
shipping
it, and
it.
we're
Shipping it
still
till we see it.
gonna ship it, and until they tell us that it's not there, we're gonna keep shipping it.
I expect all of us to get emails from BioWare next week, like, okay, drop the baby Krogan thing, alright?
It's not gonna happen.
It's a spoiler. I love
No,
it.
that is interesting, though, is that BioWare does put a lot of work into their races. As you said before, in the Codex entries, it explains why the aliens look the way they do, or why they behave the way they do. The Solarians live the lives they live because of their jungle planet. The Turians have metal plates on their skin because of the radiation from their suns. In fact, I believe they may have... No, do they have 2 suns in their solar system? Or is it 1? I think it might be 2, but anyway...
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a lot of
Weren't
radiation.
they like originally like rock hopping birds or something? So that's the reason why they kind of look
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
birdy.
And as Javik poetically puts it, Solarians used to lick their eyes when they were lizards.
Well, and like they talk so fast because of their short lifespan, and everything is related to how their culture is related to how they've developed. So
And BioWare in every game they do really goes deep into building a culture with characteristics and reasons behind those characteristics and lore
Architecture.
all over the place, and just it's so deep that it could actually be real.
Exactly.
yeah, and that makes me think of what other kinds of like themes we can find in different races in Andromeda. Like, you know, the Krogan are the like tough brutes that fight, you know, and the Quarian are the oppressed, you know. What kinds of themes are we going to find in Andromeda with the different aliens?
Again, this goes back to the whole, do they have mass relays, do they have reapers, whatnot, that we're just not going to know for right now. If they had mass relays, then they would be able to, like, learn from each other faster, and their civilizations would change according to that. But if they weren't able to interact with each other as much, then their civilizations probably would be more unique compared to each other. There wouldn't be as many similarities. Like, for example, I think it's humans are able to do biotics because the Asari gave them the technology, right? Yeah, so things like that. Like, it would change cultures interacting with each other.
You know, that's pretty interesting with you saying the new and multiple diverse ways that these races could be because of just how vast the Milky Way is, and if there's no Mass Effect relays, they wouldn't be able to be in touch with one another. They, as I mentioned before, they could be all at war because they don't have any Citadel or technology to draw them together for peace. And as we travel to the Andromeda Galaxy as humans and Krogans and whatever else decide to go along, there's something that I think of. It goes along with the classic BioWare formula. Every BioWare game goes about you trying to unite the people of your land, whatever land it is, the Milky Way or Thetis or wherever, against...
Or just Kirkwall.
Or Kirkwall, yes. Against some type of evil. Usually it's an ancient evil unless you're in Kirkwall, and then it's... Well, even then, Crifius was there, so kinda.
Well, not in Kirkwall, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So it's usually trying to unite everyone against ancient evil while people fight amongst themselves. Now, when we get to the Andromeda Galaxy, just because Krogans and Solarians and Asari are with us doesn't mean we might be friends for the entire duration of our stay there. Maybe we'll be fighting amongst ourselves and fighting amongst the Andromedans who are also fighting amongst ourselves.
Internal struggle!
Exactly. And then you have the ancient evil, whoever they are, the buildings that grow out of the ground.
So many choices, so many conflicts. Oh, I want to play it so bad right now.
We'll have another year and a half to go, but it'll be the classic BioWare formula of us uniting not only the classic races, but also the Andromedan races to work together to stop Reaper's version 2. Or whatever
Reaper
it is.
2.0.
We're back and we're angrier than before.
I definitely think that that's true. I mean, that's a really compelling kind of arc of a story, just narratively, and I think, yeah, that's what people are drawn to, so I'm excited, even if it is just another Reaper Part 2.
I doubt it will be. BioWare is usually, even if there are similarities between the ultimate villains of their games, they're each unique in a way that makes them a completely different entity. Like, the Reapers are totally different than the Darkspawn. Even their back lore is different, and interesting, too, and has enough spaces that don't answer enough questions to make you just wonder. It has a mysterious aspect to it.
Or you have, like, antagonists with super deep motivations like Loghain, or, unfortunately, protagonists that are just kind of, like, there, like Crifius.
Yeah.
Yes. And on the topic of villains and what the possible villain could be for Mass Effect Andromeda, there's something I thought about a long time ago when thinking about just this. Since something we've mentioned previously, if there's no Reapers in the Andromeda Galaxy, and nothing to wipe out the races every 50,000 of years, maybe a couple races, or maybe just one race, was lucky enough to survive for hundreds of thousands of years, and able to just keep increasing their technology beyond that of their neighboring races. Maybe this race, similar to the Protheans, isn't the most nicest race, and tells you either join our empire as a second-rate citizen, or you die. They could possibly be the villain or one of the major villains in this game.
I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I could see that. There has to be, I mean, in any sort of, let's just say, ecosystem, so let's say galactical ecosystem, I'm getting super big on science! Galactical ecosystem! So, everybody say it 5 times. Galactical ecosystem. It's so much. Galactical
Galactical
ecosystem.
toaster.
It's so
Ew,
fun to
Sergio
say. Oh
can't
my
do
god. I invented a new phrase.
Yay!
Science.
Science! So within the galactical ecosystem, there's obviously gotta be someone at, let's just say, the top of the food chain. With any ecosystem, there's something at the top of the food chain. So there's gotta be some sort of dominant race, or dominant collective of races, because even if you look at the Milky Way, the sort of alliance races are kind of the top dogs, versus there's, like the Volus and, like the Volus, and the Quarians, I guess, technically wouldn't be a part of it. The Hanar, maybe the Drell, like, there's the lesser races, and, or even the Elcor, even though we all really love the Elcor. Poor little Elcor.
Reluctant enthusiasm.
That was great.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so there's always that kind of dominant, advanced, or at least lucky race. So there's definitely gonna be a top dog in Andromeda, I would guess. In the galactical ecosystem.
I definitely could see them turning that into a villain type of, scenario with, yeah, I mean, I think, like I was saying earlier, I think one of the more common themes that you see with different races is, like, there's the oppressed race that so many fans tend to kind of cling to and love and, want to take care of their baby. And I think that
The precious cinnamon roll of the galaxy.
Exactly. And I think I could see that happening with having like a top dog kind of race and then like the bottom dog.
What is happening with these dogs?
Well,
Is that what it's called? I don't know. But, you know what I'm saying?
Last episode was about feet. This episode was about dogs.
Where are we going?
Further and further down the gutter. Oh my god.
But yeah, I like that idea of, because I've really been a not big fan of assuming the Reapers will be back. I just feel like it'll be, I don't know, too repetitive. So yeah, I like having that idea of a different kind of villain for us to face, and I think that sounds really plausible. I like your idea a lot.
I mean, it's rare even in nature and our planet itself for the top dog to be the most friendliest thing, at least even to the ecosystem. I mean, look at humans. We're destroying our environment, and the lesser races, such as cow and etc., we eat, and their whole existence is just to be farmed. And if you're lucky, you could be a pet in our house, and we'll think you're cute and give you treats.
Yep, it's true.
That's just nature, unfortunately. I mean, the top dog isn't usually the most friendliest in giving.
Or like sharks, because run away.
Yes, run from the sharks. Because if you're running, then the sharks can't get
Run
you.
from the sharks.
sharks. I like where this is
Watch,
going.
there's gonna be an
Science.
alien race in Andromeda that's land sharks. Just watch. Actually, I guess that's kind of Krogan, but you know, they're lizard shark things.
The top dog race of Andromeda is sharks with legs.
Sharks.
Oh no. Sharknadoes.
Well, we have fire tornadoes, so
I'd
like
be close
fire sharknado.
Sharknadoes.
Let's just stop before we go any further. Shove it in the box and call it a day.
Guys, I just got an alert from our network saying our show's now been canceled. Good job. Congratulations.
Oh.
Ruined it all.
Well, we've come to the end of our podcast, but you can catch us on upcoming podcasts or listen to our previous one that we've done before this one.
The definition of previous, ladies and gentlemen.
We're only on episode 2, but there will be many to come, I promise. So, what are your theories on the ending of Mass Effect 3? And what aspects of science do you... Science! What aspects of science do you think will impact Mass Effect Andromeda? And give us all your lovely thoughts and theories down in the comments.
You can find us on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, and you can also email us at n7radioofficial@gmail.com. And like BioFan said, we would love to hear from you and hear your comments and questions that we will definitely feature in upcoming podcasts, beginning with the next episode.
And remember, much like tinfoil hat theories, this podcast grows with fandom support. Yes! Please visit our separate channels on YouTube and also on Podbean, and our Twitters and just wherever else you can find us. Subscribe, like, and share. It's the way to show you care.
Aww.
Remember, share with fellow Mass Effect fans to help build a Mass Effect Nation, a strong community of fans that shares real news, information, and theories with one another so that BioWare knows that this franchise is loved and followed. Now, as we mentioned previously, comment below because they will be featured in the next episode. We'll feature the comments from both episode 1 and 2 of our podcast and episode 3. The reason that episode 1 isn't being featured in this one is because a couple of our members are going to PAX, and that is something we will talk about in the next podcast, so make sure you listen. And as always, thanks for watching. Keela Salai, Mass Effect Nation.
Everyone can relate to what it's like when you drop a glass of marbles.
I've done that many times in my day.
Chachi has officially lost her mind.
I don't know.
Glasses of marbles around.
Just for dropping.
You don't?
Who doesn't?
Don't? God, Kate, you're weird.
So.
Everyone, come on.
But if you drop
It's like
something...
breathing. You have to have a cup full of marbles.
I like the dropping marbles thing, so we're gonna go with this. Okay, this is my hyperbole.
Okay.
Never before have so many come together from all quarters of the galaxy. But never before have we faced an enemy such as this. The Reapers will show us no mercy. We must give them no quarter. They will terrorize our populations. We must stand fast in the face of that terror. They will advance until our last city falls, but we will not fall. We will prevail. Each of us will be defined by our actions in the coming battle. Stand fast. Stand strong. Stand together. Hack it out.